Hi, I'm Nick Palmisano, and this is the Bad News Network. Last week we reported on Sergeant Trey Troney saving a man's life with a Saints jersey and a Bic pen. It turns out he made the whole thing up. While he was on the scene, it doesn't look like he performed any first aid whatsoever. While the investigation is still ongoing, it's not looking good for Sergeant Troney right now. He's probably going to make a great Stolen Valor veteran one day, and we look forward to reporting about his many, many medals of honor. Okay, let's jump right into the Trumpgasm. The government continues its record-setting shutdown, and neither side seems to be flinching, despite the fact that Homeland Security, including TSA and the Coast Guard, are currently working without pay. So here's what hasn't changed from last week. The House has passed a budget. The Senate has enough votes to pass the same budget with 11 Republicans siding with the Democrats, but Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is unwilling to put the bill up to a vote. He contends there's no reason to put it up to a vote if the president is just going to veto it anyway. Here's what has changed, and it's all bad. The president invited congressional Democrats to a lunch to discuss border security and a way through this impasse. No Democrats attended. Then the Democrats doubled down on petty when Nancy Pelosi, the House Majority Leader, sent the president a message stating that they had to cancel the State of the Union address because they were worried about security concerns given the shutdown. The Secret Service and Homeland Security quickly let the speaker know that this was not an issue and that security would not be a factor whatsoever, but nevertheless, the State of the Union address is canceled for the first time since 1913. She was quickly applauded by many Democrats because no one really cares about the health of the nation anymore. We just want to win political points against our adversaries. Even though, as I've said many, many times, if you actually ask people what they believe in, 80% of all Americans believe pretty much the exact same thing. You motherfuckers! She forgot, however, that if you're going to go petty against President Trump, he's not going to take the high road. The president retaliated by waiting until Pelosi and several Democrats were literally on a bus heading to military transportation to go on a trip to Afghanistan, Brussels, and Egypt, and then he canceled their flights, using the exact same verbiage that the speaker used to cancel the State of the Union address, citing issues with the shutdown. While most Americans are dismayed that it's come to this, Italian and Jewish mothers quickly nodded approvingly, but then quickly changed and said, "This was pretty good, but your brother and sister would have done a lot better." Speaking of security, many are worried that TSA is going to stop functioning at a high level given the fact that workers are now unpaid. Well, we have good news for you. During a recent audit of TSA, agents were able to smuggle in guns and knives 95% of the time. That's right, 95 out of 100 times, people with guns were able to get them right through TSA. So basically, we're only stopping 5 terrorists most of the time anyway, so what's the difference between 95 terrorists and 100 terrorists? You'll be fine. In all seriousness, I once forgot a 4-inch Gerber automatic Tonto in my carry-on bag, and over the course of the 6 months that I had forgotten it in there, I went on 20 flights, including 3 overseas flights, went through all kinds of security. No one ever caught it. Finally, some industrious TSA agent finds the knife, and so much time had transpired that I was just happy to see my knife again. It was like a little reunion. This week, everybody's talking about the Gillette commercial. Truth be told, we here at BNN don't really care about it one way or the other, but since everyone else is giving a muy caliente take, we will too. The ad has received overwhelmingly negative views on Gillette's YouTube station, with almost 1 million downvotes against barely 400,000 upvotes. Many have been shocked by the negative reaction to the ad. After all, the overall ad message is overwhelmingly positive. Don't catcall women. Don't pinch women on the butt. Don't tell kids that it's okay to fight. Don't let a kid be bullied by 6 other kids that are chasing him. Don't tell women to smile because it makes them look pretty. Most people, even people that don't like the ad, don't really seem to have an issue with that message. The things that are chafing them in no particular order are as follows. First, the video seems to imply that most men act this way, or at least that toxic masculinity is something that all men need to overcome. Second, the fact that a company that just had to pay $4.7 billion with a B dollars because they've knowingly been allowing asbestos to go in baby powder for decades probably shouldn't have the gall to put out an ad telling people what the right thing to do is. But mostly it's just the idea that an advertisement telling people that do these kinds of things not to do these things is probably going to be ineffective. Do you really think that the guy that actually thinks currently that it's okay to let a kid get beat up by 6 kids while you just look on is going to be affected by this ad? Or do you think it's more likely that he's just going to swear at the ad through his missing front teeth while throwing a beer bottle at the wall and swearing, "You pussies!" So you're basically telling guys that don't exhibit this behavior not to exhibit this behavior. And then when anyone pushes back and says, this isn't really what most men do, you freak out and say, well, you must be a misogynist. The fact of the matter is that studies show that toxic masculinity comes from a lack of masculinity in a person's life. Children that grow up without dads present in their lives are 5 times more likely to commit suicide. They're 32 more times likely to run away. They're 14 times more likely to rape. They are 9 times more likely to drop out of high school. And they're 20 times more likely to end up in prison. So if Gillette really wanted to make an ad that combated toxic masculinity, they should probably make an ad about not being a deadbeat dad, or maybe about the women that weaponize their children and don't let dads take part in their life. But think about even the ad premise and ask whether this is really what you want. If a guy catcalls a girl and I jump in and I say, hey man, that's not okay, there's a chance there's going to be violence. Because that's what happens a lot of times in situations where one guy confronts another. So when he pushes me or he hits me and we're now in a fight, am I engaging in toxic masculinity? Am I a misogynist because I felt the need to defend this woman? I'm asking this question simply because I've seen tons of comments posted all over the internet to the very effect of those last 2 comments. Truth be told, this doesn't really affect me or anybody that I know. I'm going to interject if I see a woman being threatened. That's how I grew up, and frankly, in the worst case scenario, I've been fighting since 1987 and I actually enjoy it.
Nick, that's a negative view on life, and you should use your words.
That is not the nose of a man that uses his words.
What's wrong with my nose? Punch you right in the words.
Seriously, what did you think of the ad? Me too. China's Chang'e 4 lander that last week landed on the dark side of the moon has successfully germinated a cottonseed on the moon's surface. While humans have germinated seeds in the International Space Station before, this is the first time it's ever been done on the lunar surface, which many consider to be the first step in colonization of the moon. That's one small step for man, one tiny leaf for mankind. When terrorists overtook a Kenyan hotel this week, an SAS soldier who was training others nearby rushed into the building single-handedly to free the hostages. Lived up to his unit motto of "He who dares wins," by grabbing his rifle, Glock, and dagger and rushing into the building to take on the 6 terrorists. When asked about the incident, he said, "I don't think you fully appreciate how awesome this is. I'm going to be able to talk shit forever. This is the best day of my life." And now let's cut to Mike, who just walked into this place for the first time with a special report.
I just came in here to buy a t-shirt. Is this part of the checkout process?
Come on, Mike. Work with me here, buddy. Give us something.
I got a flight to catch. I gotta poop. Can I go?
Thanks, Mike. Scintillating information. A new Honduran caravan of migrants has just left Honduras and is heading for our southern border. Guys, you don't want to come here. The whole place is closed. They're serving Big Macs at the White House, for Christ's sake. Congressman Ocasio-Cortez has stated this week that she's going to run the train on progressive policies.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
The World Health Organization has listed anti-vaccine groups as one of the top 10 threats to world health for 2019. They were going to list stupid people as the 11th threat, but upon further review, it seemed redundant. A Des Moines man named Ivory Washington sat down at a sushi bar this week and made a bomb. And I'm not talking about a sake bomb, but a real bomb. He even called the police to tell them he was going to do it. And then he sat there and he knocked it out while finishing off a couple of rainbow rolls. When the police finally arrived, he was sitting calmly at a table, finishing off some miso soup with an explosive device sitting right next to him. He told the police that he did it because he wanted to call attention to the fact that people don't pay enough attention to these kinds of threats. The police tested the device, and it did in fact work. They then arrested Washington for illegal possession of explosive materials. When asked for comment about his arrest, Washington said, "This blows." CNN legal analyst Ariva Martin accused David Webb of white privilege this week when he stated, "I never considered my color the issue, I consider my qualifications the issue." Webb quickly let her know that he was, in fact, black. Martin then begrudgingly apologized, exclaiming that her people should have prepared her better. To which Webb exclaimed,
What do you mean, you people?
And finally, in the most Florida story of the week, a zookeeper was killed while having sex with an alligator. Olson, the zookeeper in question, was involved in intercourse with a young female alligator when he was surprised by Brutus, a 24-foot male alligator that grabbed him by the throat, dragged him into the water, drowned him, and then ripped his head clean off. I have no joke here, just a little bit of life advice. Don't f*** alligators! Just when you thought the news was over, we have breaking news. A BuzzFeed article has stated that Michael Cohen was ordered by the president to lie to Congress. If this is true, the president might get impeached because of...
I choose business ethics.
Ethics are, you know, the thing about ethics.
And with that, I'm Nick Palmisano, and this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and if you're gonna run a train, don't do it on an alligator.